the time in which they live. You're in the age of Obama. You're in the age of de Blaio. Put away your sermons from the age of Nixon. They don't preach no more. We must take this challenge. Doesn't mean we're going to agree with everything the mayor does. We must prod him. We must challenge him. Doesn't mean that we're going to agree with everything that his administration does, but he's changed the tone in a city that had become tone deaf, where ministers had their voices muted, and where many of us that would speak up were told to shut up. And now we can speak up and out about the people God called us to serve, rather than try and remain muted, hoping we would protect some grant or some invitation to some festivities that didn't mean anything anyway. At the end, why do we become quiet? Well, because many of us have rationalized it and justified it. I talked to a preacher not long ago. Well, Reverend, I don't speak out like you. I don't deal with social issues. I don't deal with justice. I don't deal with this. I don't deal with that. I have a different ministry. Well, what is it? Well, I go to different places in the scripture. Where? If you scared, say you scared. Don't act like you more holy than me. Say you scared and sit down and shut up and let those of us that are not scared stand up and speak. Faith leaders, that's what the schedule said we have in the day. Faith and fear don't abide together. You can't be a faith leader if you're full of fear. You can't be a faith leader if you're afraid what the tabloids will say about you tomorrow. You can't be a faith leader if you can't stand up to those that enjoy more than others in the town, and you will not speak to the inequality. You can't be a faith leader when the first lady in the city can speak louder than us about mental health. If you're a faith leader, fear's got to back up. Because faith means you go where there are no guarantees, where you don't know the results and where it will end, but you really believe that God wouldn't bring you and leave you alone. I close. I'm a closer. I close because I've seen in my own life, if you stand for what's right, in the end you'll win. I was standing in the square in Johannesburg in 1994 when they lowered the flag of apartheid and raised the flag, and Nelson Mandela went from prisoner to president. I seen too much not to have faith. I sat on the platform in 2013 and watched them bring out 2 Bibles. To swear in for the second term, Barack Obama. And I was sitting on the 4th row as one of his guests, and as I was sitting there, a member of the Senate said to me several rows back, he said, Reverend Al, this is an awesome moment. I said, yes it is. He said, just think to watch this president being sworn in on the Bibles of Abe Lincoln and Martin Luther King. And I said to him, Councilman Williams, yes, it's an awesome moment, but don't be confused. Those are 2 identical Bibles, same amount of scripture, same amount of chapters, same amount of books, same amount of verses. But those 2 Bibles took 2 different routes to get here. Lincoln's Bible was on the mantelpiece in the White House. Heads of states and captains of industry and military leaders would look at that Bible. But Dr. King's Bible didn't come that route. Dr. King's Bible came through the backwoods of Georgia and the bayous of Mississippi and the laden places. In fact, if you open up his Bible in the front inside, you'll see a cell number. Because they checked his Bible in his property when he went to jail in Birmingham. And it would have to go through the institution to finally get to his cell for him to read it. Little would the bailiff have guessed, little would those in charge of jail property would have guessed, that that Bible, as they checked it in, would one day be on the steps of the Capitol, swearing in the President of the United States. I've seen too much to be afraid now. We can build the city. We can make a difference. We can bring about miracles. We've done it before.
Let us give another hand to our faithful. All of us who are in leadership know that you cannot do this alone. That you need not only a community, but you need family. Because after you undergo the ridicule and the chastisement, there has to be somebody waiting for you to remind you of how significant you are, even when you find yourself under assault. And I say with confidence that our mayor has someone like that. She has taken the lead with regard to mental health issues in this city, and has been a tremendous spokeswoman for this cause. It is an issue that is not easy to confront, because in many of our communities, many are in denial or are fearful of the stigma attached to mental illness. She has been a trumpet and has been clear about why this city needs to turn its attention to those who suffer with mental illness. I'm grateful to count her as a friend, and she's also a Bajan homegirl. It's with great pleasure that I bring before you this morning the First Lady of New York City, So I am grateful for the mayor starting this initiative, but we look to all of you. We've begun.
Thank you, Pastor Mike. Your fierce and fiery commitment to justice is an inspiration to all of us. Bill and I are so grateful for your support. And we're also grateful to each and every one of you for being here today. What an amazing collection of people. You all look like New York. You do. And I cannot imagine a better way to start the new year than by sitting together and having this conversation. Thank you for being here with us this morning. Thank you for devoting your lives to helping others. And thank you for showing the world that New York remains committed to religious diversity and fellowship, and showing that what makes our city great is not our differences, but something far greater, and that is our humanity, which unites us. Over the past year, my appreciation for the work you do has taken on a new dimension. Last January, I announced this administration's commitment to tackling the mental health crisis in our city. And what a journey it has been. Mental health challenges touch every family and every borough and every neighborhood. But that isn't news to all of you, because when a mother is worried that her son is addicted prescription painkillers, there's a good chance that she'll turn to you. When a young man wonders if his inability to feel joy is a symptom of depression, there's a good chance he'll turn to you. And when a father wants to know if the panic he experiences is tied to something deeper than the usual reaction to the stresses of life, there's a good chance that he'll turn to one of you. In other words, many of you are already frontline workers and first responders for mental distress in all of its forms. So from the very start, we want to make sure that our mental health action plan reflected your experiences and your insights. My team has met with faith leaders from all around the city and has had some very productive conversations. There were requests for more training and information about mental health so they can be sure they're connecting people to the right kind of help. Faith leaders are also eager to help us change the culture around mental health because, as we all know, stigma and shame keep far too many people from seeking the help they need. And we've been encouraged to organize a weekend when houses of worship all over the city focus on mental well-being to reduce the stigma of mental illness and help connect people to local resources. So in these conversations, we heard your colleagues loud and clear. In November, Bill and I officially announced Thrive NYC, a mental health roadmap for all, to change the way we think about mental health and the way we deliver mental health services. And let me show you. Thrive NYC is the action plan that lays out the steps we must take as a city to create the mental health system that we need. One that is culturally competent and brings services to where people live, where they work, and where they go to school. Now, I strongly encourage you to go online to nyc.gov and read the full report. Yes, it's 119 pages, but it's a fascinating read, I assure you. and you can get regular updates to Thrive NYC if you follow me on Twitter, @Shirlane, or go to my blog, Flow Nice. It's flo.nyc on Tumblr. You get all the newest updates because there are 54 programs. And I know many of them are going to be of interest to you. But I want to tell you quickly and briefly about two of the initiatives that came out of our conversations. First, we will create a virtual learning center where clergy and immigrant community leaders can go to build their mental health skills and quickly connect to existing professional resources. This virtual learning center will be a website that offers courses and informations. It will include instructional videos, tools that test your skills, provide handouts with useful tips and information and easy-to-use assessments. The virtual learning center will also be a gathering place, a forum where you can link up with local mental health experts who can help your congregants get the help they need. Starting this month, we will work with faith leaders to get a better sense of exactly what more you need and what the learning center should include. We will begin enrolling clergy members into the virtual learning center this fall. And the second initiative I want to highlight today is the Faith-Based Mental Health Weekend. This administration will work with clergy members of different faiths to organize this event on the designated weekend. We will call on you and your colleagues to speak to your respective faith communities about mental health. And I hope all of you will join us in this conversation. You know, mental health is something that we all need. It's mental fitness, we need it. It's invisible, but there are signs and symptoms of things when they're not right that we all can address. And I need you. We need you to be part of this conversation. Because as I like to say, mental health challenges are a people problem that require a people solution. So please, help us spread the word. Conversation by conversation, congregation by congregation, we can create a city where every New Yorker can live life to the fullest. A city where every New Yorker can thrive. And it is now my pleasure to introduce a man who shares my profound appreciation for New York City's faith community, our mayor, Bill de Blasio.
some of you are generationally in tune with Charlene and me, and you will remember the famous lyric from the song, "You are so beautiful to me." So this gathering is beautiful to me. This gathering is beautiful to all of us because it is New York City in all its glory. It's New York City in its strength and its diversity. And it's something we should cherish. I appreciated what several of our colleagues talked about at the beginning. Environment where there are voices of division in this country, in this world. And we, in this city, we are the antidote. We are the antidote. We prove it every day that people can walk together. And that something greater could come of it. So this gathering, I almost wish we could beam this all over the world and send a message that all peoples sitting at a table together in unity. Everyone laughed at Joe Katasnik's jokes. It didn't matter what faith you were. I think we could show the world something it very much needs to learn at this moment. So I thank you all. I thank you all. I want to thank all the wonderful faith leaders who spoke earlier. And I want to thank our First Lady. What she's doing is so important, and what she's doing is calling us all to arms in the most noble way. And please, when we work out with you when that weekend will be, this is a moment to break through. This is a moment to destigmatize. We all know, and Charlene's exactly right. I'm sitting here with a room of experts on the question of mental health, because you deal with the challenge frontline every day, and you understand it. In a way, I would argue, many other leaders in our society don't understand as deeply, because you've seen it in all its human totality. We must destigmatize the issue of mental health. We must change the conversation in this city. And we all know, everyone in this room knows something about leadership, because you practice it every day in such a profoundly important way. Well, I can tell you, and I have to express both my love for my wife, but my appreciation for what she's done. If she had not taken this on and say we're going to destigmatize mental health in the city right now, we probably wouldn't be having the conversation we needed to have, but we are, thanks to our First Lady. Now, there are a lot of people here today, and again, I want to tell you, it means so much to us to start the year this way. To start the year with common cause. I like to give credit where credit is due. This is a gathering of a type that was held in the past, but we've updated it to make it more about what we do together, about a common mission. But giving credit where credit is due is really Pastor A.R. Bernard, who authored the idea of saying, let's do this again in a new way. And I want to thank him. Let's give him a round of applause. And thank you. And then, as when so many matters of how we continue the positive transformation of this city, Charlene and I turn to Pastor Michael Wallner, who has done an outstanding job. Who has done an absolutely outstanding job leading our clergy advisory council. And Pastor Mike, you had plenty to do at 1 Corinthians, building that extraordinary church. You've had plenty to do as a leader locally and nationally on so many issues, but you have literally, since you took on this new role, crisscrossed the city, gathering faith leaders for this good work. And I deeply appreciate your commitment to this city. Thank you so much. And thank you again to Tony Marks and New York Public Library, because if you talk about this great city, this city for everyone, you are talking about our library. So Tony, thank you for your leadership. Now, I'm going to do a quick ministerial item here, because I want you to know. First of all, I want you to know about the elected officials who understand the power of faith and faith leaders and are part of this gathering today because they know it's their business to deepen this bond. So I'm going to name them all. We'll clap for them all at the end. I want to thank from the Congress, Congressman Elliot Engel. I want to thank State Senator Liz Kruger, Borough President Gail Brewer, and then from the City Council, Elizabeth Crowley, Vanessa Gibson, Margaret Cheney, Donis Rodriguez, Jamani Williams, and David Greenfield. Let's give them all a round of applause. I want you to know, all the members of the administration who are here, at the end of this program, in a few moments, I look forward to having a chance to visit with a number of you. There's also a lot of great leaders in this administration here, and if you have thoughts for them or issues for them, it's a great opportunity to spend a few minutes with them. It is an extraordinary group. I want to thank every member of my administration here for what you've done over this last 2 years. You have a lot to be proud of. I'm going to name them all, but I want to single out one at the beginning because he gave us some very, very good news yesterday. It was a powerful moment to stand with Commissioner Bradford and talk about the fact that over 2 years since we came into office, overall major crime in the city is down 5.8% over the last 2 years. Commissioner Bradford, thank you. Thank you very much. And my friends, we owe a debt of gratitude to Bill Bradford for his leadership and to all the men and women of the NYPD. But I remind you that so many people in this room were part of calling for a city that was both safer and fairer. So you heard me say overall crime down 5.8% over 2 years, and stop and frisk as we knew it before ended simultaneously. And that is an extraordinary achievement. I'll let you know about all the other great leaders of the administration who are here, and again, what they do every day is absolutely extraordinary. They reach so many people so positively. I want to thank the chair of our New York City Housing Authority, Sholo Alateye. I want to thank our Commissioner for Housing, Vicki Bean. I want to thank our Commissioner for Immigrant Affairs, Nisha Argwal, our Aging Commissioner, Donna Corrado, our Administration for Children's Services Commissioner, Gladys Carrion, our Emergency Management Commissioner, Joe Esposito, our Community Affairs Commissioner, Marco Carrion, our Commissioner in the Mayor's Office of Combat Domestic Violence, Cecile Noel, a Commissioner for the Office of Administrative Trials and Hearings, Fidel Del Valle, Commissioner for Consumer Affairs, Julie Menon, and my counsel, and also the leader of our MWBE efforts, Maya Wiley. Let's thank them all for all their work. You saw just before the glory of having all the different voices of all different faiths together. Again, something so particularly emblematic of this city. And one thing we do in this city that I talk about wherever I go is, in common cause, we reject bias, we reject discrimination, we reject hate. And we have a lesson in that also to teach some other places in this world. Because when we see an act of hate towards anyone, be they Christian, be they Jewish, be they Sikh, be they Muslim, or any faith, we have a common response. It's not one type of response for one faith and a different response for another faith. It doesn't matter which faith is affronted. When we see a bias crime in this city, it becomes our civic responsibility to address it. When we see a bias crime in this city, we often see faith leaders of different faiths gather together at the site to commonly reject the discrimination. We see the NYPD swing into action. And one of the things that makes us great as a city is we talk about it. We acknowledge it. We don't sweep it under the rug. If we see it, we call out the cancer so we can eradicate it. And that makes us stronger. And that gives people on the ground in all our neighborhoods faith that we have that commitment to them. That whatever their background, they are equally honored and embraced here. And we would mean to deepen that work. We're very proud of the first 2 years of our work, but we have only just begun, and the deepening of that work involves all of you. I want to express to you a deeply held value that Charlene and I have. And it's one that should not be controversial, but in some ways, I think, unfortunately, has become so over the years. You may have heard from time to time we consider ourselves progressives. As progressives, we believe in changing people's lives. You can't change people's lives if you don't engage and work deeply with faith communities. It is as simple as that. And some people, and I don't in any way belittle them for this, but some people have come to see quote-unquote separation of church and state as a reason to keep some distance from faith communities. Well, our interpretation is very different. Separation of church and state indicates a government that will perform its roles fairly and equally towards all communities, towards people who have a particular faith background and people who don't choose any faith, equally. And it means that each part of our society plays different roles. But it does not suggest for a moment that we shouldn't fully and deeply stand shoulder to shoulder to do this work, because we can't do it well enough without you. We just can't. And that's why this gathering is so important. If we're going to keep taking on income inequality, if we're going to keep driving down crime, if we're going to keep eradicating bias, you are the necessary allies in that struggle. And I don't believe in the past the government of this city, or probably any other, has fully tapped into the extraordinary energy and insight and capacity of our faith leaders. So we aim to do better. We aim to go farther in that effort. There's a lot that we need to do, and I'll be very quick. But I want you to know, and I appreciate deeply the definition of faith that Reverend Sharpton offered. We believe that part of how we get somewhere is to declare the goal, even if we don't always know every piece of the equation that will get us there. Declare the goal and believe that together we can find the path. I will admit to you, on the first day of this administration, when we said we were going to get close to 70,000 kids in full-day pre-K within 2 years, there were some doubting Thomases in my own ranks. From time to time, I found myself doubting. But we said there is no more important and noble goal if we're going to build a future better city, and if we're going to actually create equality and opportunity. And we had faith. And so many of you became our partners in that endeavor, and let the record show that pre-K for all worked. And it worked in part because we worked so closely with faith communities and with religious schools. We had common cause. Well, brothers and sisters, today in New York City, every single child who needs pre-K gets it for free. And thank you for all. We said we would show an embrace of immigrants against, again, a backdrop of a discussion that has gone awfully awry. By the way, we are a nation of immigrants, we are a city of immigrants. All our greatness derives from being a place of immigrants for generations upon generations. Who missed that formula? Who didn't get the memo that immigration made us great? Our embrace and our support for all immigrants is to give them the same respect, the same acknowledgement that folks have who happen not to be immigrants. We wanted to show the same respect for people who are undocumented human beings as those who were documented. And we said, well, let's get everyone documented. And we called it ID NYC. I like to make fun of Commissioner Nisha Argawal because she thought about 100,000 people would take advantage of it in the first year, but it's over 700,000 people have an ID NYC right now. Now, this, I'm going to be quick, but this is one of the examples I want to give of not only the big changes we can make together, but very practical things you can help us with as well. Because I will be honest with you, until I had the honor of serving in this office, I did not fully understand that not only was an ID card crucial to getting a lease or a bank account, but it was Bill Bratton who helped me understand that an ID card makes the work of our police so much better. If someone has an ID, it allows the police to handle them so much more positively and easily than if someone doesn't. So, brothers and sisters, here's an easy mandate for 2016. It's available, it's free, anybody can get it. Please tell all the members of your congregations, tell everyone that you reach, if they do not have an ID card, if they don't walk around with an ID card, take a few minutes, get an ID NYC, and we'll make their life better. It'll make all our lives better. That's something we can do together. And I mentioned, I'll just make one more point on police because it's so important. We together, all of us, driving down crime is first and foremost something we look to the men and women of the NYPD to do, but we also know that neighborhood residents, that block patrols, tenant patrols make a difference, that this is all of us together driving down crime. The police precinct councils make a difference. It is a communal effort. The police are the guardians of the community, just like I always say, the villages we all came from once, back in our ancestry. Guardians were chosen in each village to protect the village. The police are the guardians of our very large village, that is New York City. We have an opportunity in 2016. Now that we have shown what can be done, that we can drive down crime, we can bring the police and community closer together, we are on the dawn of a whole new age now with neighborhood policing. And the plan that Commissioner Bratton and Chief O'Neill are putting in place, we're going to see the thing that so many of us have dreamed of literally for decades. Neighborhood policing. The cop on the beat who knows the clergy, who knows the neighborhood leaders, who knows the shopkeepers, and the connection and the deep flow of information, the respect, the partnership that can grow out of that. That is beginning as we speak, and it will go farther with you. So in 2016, I'm asking you to get to know the new leaders of the NYPD in your communities, to get to know the folks who are driving neighborhood policing in each of your precincts, to invite clergy into your houses of worship. Excuse me, clergy, you aren't clergy. To invite police. I figured that one out. You should also invite clergy. To invite police leadership and the police officers who serve the community into your houses of worship. So they get to meet your congregants. So they get to know your faith and how crucial it is to the wellness of your community. That's the kind of thing we can deepen in 2016. I will just say a couple other quick things. You've heard from some of the previous speakers what we're trying to do with affordable housing. A lot of you played a crucial role in that effort, and a lot of you have organizations that build affordable housing, and I want you to know, if you haven't heard from me before, I'll say it again. We are open for business. We want to build and build and build. We want to preserve affordable housing, and we need you to do it. So anyone in this room who is in the affordable housing business as part of your ministry, come see us, because there's so much we can do together. We need to reach people and help them to better their lives. The fight against income inequality is about raising wages and benefits. It's about reducing the costs that people are burdened by, like housing. We together, many people in this room, fought for paid sick leave. 500,000 more people got paid sick leave in the last 2 years because of your great efforts. And that makes a lot of difference in their lives. We need to fight together for a $15 minimum wage. We need to change the assumptions about what people deserve. I'm very proud, by the way, of the announcement we made in the last week or two, that starting with 20,000 of our city workers, and hopefully someday soon all of our city workers will have paid parental leave, so family can truly be respected. So those are a number of the things where we know we're making a difference, and with you we're going to make a deeper difference in 2016. I want to spend a moment on one more issue, because it's one that I know everyone feels deeply. We know we have a challenge with affordable housing. We know we have a challenge also with homelessness, and the two go together. The two go together. And it's so important that we look this truth in the face. We know there was a moment in our history 3 or 4 decades ago when we started to see people living on the streets. And we hadn't seen that for a while in any appreciable number. Go back to the 1930s, you had the Hoovervilles during the Great Depression. Then there was a period of relative prosperity, and people didn't live on the streets, thank God. But starting in the 70s and 80s, it started to happen. And then it was mainly single men, and it was mainly people with mental health challenges and substance abuse challenges. And there were a lot of them, and it was a problem. And we all worked together to do something about it. We made some progress, but never enough. But then the Great Recession happened. And the Great Recession changed everything, and we need to look this in the face because the Great Recession changed the rules of the game for so many New Yorkers. And wages and benefits just didn't keep up with the cost of living, and somehow, simultaneously, the cost of housing kept going up and up and up. Think about the whipsaw that people found themselves in, where wages and benefits were stagnant, where jobs were lost, but the cost of housing just kept escalating. That's what happened in the last 5 or 10 years in this city. So, the fact is today, and I want to make clear people have these numbers right, we have 58,000 people in shelter. 58,000. That's 58,000 too many. But they're in shelter. They do have a place to go at night. Unlike so many other cities, sadly, that are dealing with the homelessness challenge and don't have the shelter capacity we do, we have a bed for anyone who wants it on any given night. There are still, however, 3,000 or 4,000 people who are on the streets 24/7. Again, with that group of people, that is more what we've seen in the past. Folks with mental health challenges, folks with substance abuse challenges, folks who aren't comfortable coming in off the streets. Now, you've probably heard in the last month, we announced a new initiative called Homestead. It will be the single biggest homeless outreach effort in the history of this country by any city. We will be crisscrossing this city with outreach workers working closely with NYPD to make sure that literally we contact each and every homeless person every day and with a simple, common message, come in off the streets. We have help for you. We have a safe place for you. We have mental health services for you. We have the cure to substance abuse. You know that no one will be better at spreading that message than all of you. And we need you to participate in particular in our Safe Haven initiative. And a lot of you are already, and I want to thank in particular our Archdiocese, which has played a leadership role, but we have more to do. Safe havens. Safe havens are the smaller, often faith-led facilities in a house of worship or associated with a house of worship or a nonprofit that give folks who are on the street a small, intimate, supportive environment to come into. A lot of folks on the street are not willing to go to a larger shelter, but they are willing to go to you because they trust you. They trust you. Cardinal Dolan and I visited a safe haven in the Bronx a few months ago, and I spoke to one of the Franciscan brothers who ran it. And he said the reason people come in is because we respect their humanity. We see them as individuals. We know that each person had an individual path where they went from some life that we would describe as normal to a life on the streets. Each one had an individual path. And we respect that, and we explain to them that we will work with them as an individual to get them right again, to get them to a better place. And that's what Homestead is all about. But Homestead will work in particular if all of you are part of it. If we have the right place for each person, if they know they will reach the warm embrace, the supportive environment that you have to offer. So we need you to make the safe havens work. We need you to remember that each additional bed we provide is a chance to break that cycle of homelessness for one more person. One more person who, once we get them off the streets, can find their way forward. We're investing in supportive housing, we're investing in safe havens, we're investing in all of the tools that work. And by the way, you heard, I hope, that we are, and we're that we took President Obama's challenge to end chronic veteran homelessness. We met that challenge. We achieved that challenge. But we also know there are veterans in need all the time. So here's my very clear call to action. If you have part of your house of worship, part of your facilities that you can help us to be a safe haven for homeless folks. If you have apartments or you know of apartments that can be rented to the homeless or to our homeless veterans in particular, we need to know about it. And you know the great people that we have working on our team, like Marco Cavallon and Harold Miller and Penny Ringel and Sarah Saeed, all of the great folks who work, Jan05, all the people who work with faith communities. Let them know if you can help us. And tell anyone you know if they have a safe haven to offer us, if they have an apartment to rent. All I have to do is call 311 and tell us. And we will be right there to work with you. One other note. We know last night was a very cold night in New York City. We all felt it. And there are all those folks on the street, 3,000 to 4,000, I said, typically a night in New York City living out there. Well, I want you to know there was a fantastic effort last night, as there is any time there's a cold emergency or a heat emergency. NYPD swung into action, EMS swung into action, homeless services swung into action, crisscrossed the city, reaching homeless folks, telling them they had a place to go that was safe and warm. And lots of our homeless brothers and sisters took advantage of that last night. So I want to thank all of the agencies who did a great job last night. So I conclude by saying this partnership is going to deepen a lot in 2016. We're going to keep making this a safer city, a fairer city, a more inclusive city, a city of greater opportunity, an opportunity that reaches people regardless of what zip code they live in. That's the mission. We can make progress. We can go farther with you. I can't thank you enough for your love for this city, your commitment to this city, your partnership, your ability to get things done for the people we serve. Thank you all, and God bless you.
As we prepare to depart, I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to share briefly one of the initiatives of the mayor, and that is our Clergy Advisory Council. I remember when the mayor announced the formation of this council, that there were critics. And in my mind, the criticism made no sense, because what the mayor was proposing was something that had not existed before. This is not a clergy liaison group. It's a Clergy Advisory Council. The mayor extended an invitation to clergy in the city to work with him around issues of policy and working with agencies. Today we've heard the mayor talk about the desire to partner with the faith community. Many of us know for many years the fights and the battles we've had with and at City Hall. But now this man has made a commitment to work with the faith community, to do the work in this city, to deal with the issues that face our communities. The man sees the faith community as a real partner in this work. We ought not take that lightly. For those of us who have been critical in the past and hypercritical in some instances, we have an opportunity now to do great work, to really bring transformation to this city, and the kind of transformation that the faith community can bring about. So I am grateful for the mayor starting this initiative, but we look to all of you. We've begun our borough convenings, and we will do many more over the next 6 months. And we expect many of you to be in these sessions, and we will reach out to you. But it is time to stop talking about the issues, to stop being critical of the problems, and begin to find solutions together so that we can move forward as one city. We know all the issues we face in the city and nationally. We know that we are experiencing and seeing an assault on black bodies and the dehumanization of our Muslim brothers and sisters, and an assault on poor people, as Brother Reverend Aaron Bernard shared. But we as people of faith, we know what we are called to do. There are words that are echoed by the prophet Michael. What does the Lord require? Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Not talk about justice, do justice, and to be the embodiment of transformation. We look for a great year this year, and working with the faith community in this city to see great work to make our city whole again. Amen? Come on, let's stand and prepare for the part. Let's pray. Now unto you, O God, who's able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all we could ever ask, think, or imagine. Remind us, O God, of the role we play in bringing justice to fruition. Remind us, O God, of the voices you have given us to declare words that give life. Remind us, O God, of the power we possess. It is the power to reimagine and then bring about a new world, where words like freedom, justice, and equality become real. God, you've given us that charge, but you've also equipped us for the task, and we are grateful. Continue to lead our mayor and the First Lady and the administration of this city in doing the work of the city, and more importantly, the work of the people. We thank you, God. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.